Let us begin this edition of the Scorecard with some news around sports. Football players, current and retired, are still causing legal drama. In Atlanta, James Pierce will miss 8 games following a reported attempt to kill his girlfriend with his vehicle, hitting her repeatedly while she was stopped at a traffic light. Pierce was allowed to enter a pre-trial diversion program and the charges will be dropped if compliant. Does this make the state of Georgia seem like they take domestic violence seriously? Pierce also resisted arrest. The first-round draft pick will miss almost half of the season. Terry Arnold is being given another chance despite facing charges for an alleged kidnapping and theft event that led the Detroit Lions to release the talented cornerback. But the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks are willing to take that risk. The Seahawks say the feedback has been overall positive, but they only offered a 1-year deal as the real feedback may not be so positive if a jury has to decide Arnold's true fate. Interestingly, the Lions were pressured to release him. You would think they could have navigated it better. Former Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo is the only football player facing real consequences as CBS still has him on indefinite suspension for driving while intoxicated in Wisconsin. The network seems to be trying to use the event to save money on his bloated contract. No word on when the suspension will end for what will amount to a ticket of a couple $100s. Driving while intoxicated is a serious offense, especially when you are passing where you are not supposed to. And people who dislike Romo will come out with a would've could-haves. But the reality is that nothing really happened and the video was not really bad at all. People refuse breathalyzer tests all the time. I am certainly not a fan of Romo's football career as he was a Dallas Cowboy, but he is pretty good overall calling games. He has had some bad games, but there are some far better NFL players who are not as good on the mic as he is. They should just fine him and let him continue. The WNBA has entered the ridiculous trans athlete debate, following Sophie Cunningham's rightful stance on protecting women's sports. Many high-profile athletes are coming out on the right side of the argument, but some are still trying to avoid the hysteria from the left if they do not stand with the fringe. The reality is that trans women have a place in sports. They can try to play in the men's game as they are supposed to, but are they afraid of the physicality? Politics is not the biggest factor dividing the sport or league. It is a lack of judgment by its leadership and inability for members to address issues in a rational manner. Have rational principles and use common sense. Good thing it is preseason. I think. These games are not supposed to mean much, but I think we all agree that what we saw was not good enough at all. For key players trying to establish their role on this team, neither Andy Dalton nor Tanner McKee really staked their claim to the backup role behind Jalen Hurts. It is preseason and the game plan is never complex or exciting. Just an opportunity for players to put their abilities on tape to justify inclusion on this roster or make a case for an opportunity elsewhere. I get that and accept that as a fan, but it usually does not look that bad. Neither team had their starters out there, so there was no real excuse. Most of the decisions for the roster will be made on how players practice, operate in joint practice, and work in the building. Not just the games, but there is a need to make sure you do not put something on tape that could get you placed on the bubble, the unemployment line, or have Howie and Nick realizing there are better options out there. Dropped passes and the skills that require no talent are the fundamentals that were lacking in the game and last season at times. Some of the issues may be helped once players understand their role and responsibilities as they settle into a rank on the depth chart, knowing when they will play and have better clarity. From a fan perspective, the goal or maybe the hope is that we would have some reasons to feel hopeful for what could happen during the upcoming season. New offensive system that the media has been excited about, but at the same time, the daily reports have the offense being outclassed by our stout defense. A defense that did not play too well either. The Ravens like to win preseason games. I am sure that approach still remains even though Harbaugh is now with the Giants. And their backup quarterback usually sees action every single year at some point, playing a critical role in many seasons keeping the team afloat in that brutal division. But we still should have looked better.
The way the season ended did not do the Eagles any favors. The expectations were high last season and we did not come close at all. We fizzled at home and allowed our rivals to outlast us. So the demand is high for something positive. I still believe we will round into form at some point and will make the playoffs as division winners. The Cowboys should be better than they were last year. But I still do not trust that team. They always find some way to underperform when it matters most. Regardless of the coach. In many ways, they benefited from bonehead errors made by their opponents last year. Might not be the same this year. The Giants are trying to change culture with the hire of another big-name head coach. Not sure it really will end any better as their starting quarterback played the preseason opener was again evaluated for a concussion, following a big sack. They may be more competitive, but retread coaches typically do not do well, with a few exceptions. The Commanders seem to have talent on paper, but distractions are already showing. Interestingly, the team opted to pursue Stefon Diggs rather than wait for or trade for Brandon Ayuk. Diggs still is a great talent, but we will see how well they can keep their quarterback healthy and their roster on the field. Another team led by a retread, but it worked well for them 2 years ago. Not so much this year. Of the three, the Commanders may be the biggest real threat to us.
What is happening with our first-round pick? Our top pick is still out of action with no signs of when he might return. Some in the media are making it seem like he was a direct replacement to A.J. Brown. But I think Wicks or Hollywood Brown will need to fill that void at least for this season, before Lemon grows into whatever he becomes. At this point, he is all potential. We still are not sure what role he will fill, as he has not been able to practice with the team. Many view him as the eventual number 2. That may be true eventually, but we will have to wait and see. Besides Devontae Smith, we have not had a real good track record with identifying good wideouts. So will he work out or become the next Rager? We do not know. And it might not help if he redshirts this year, which seems like it is happening a bit.
Nothing conclusive, that is how I feel right now. May not be a bad thing at this point, but we hope that things move in a more positive direction, especially with the joint practices with I.J. Brown this week and the Patriots being our next preseason opponent. While I think the trade has been a bit of a fresh air moment, no team wants to be shown up by a disgruntled former player. Disgruntled, maybe a strong word, as he really was not a major distraction, as we have seen other players been in similar situations. At the end of the day, we went to 2 Super Bowls and won one. That is a great run that I did not expect following the trade. Just hoped we would turn into a contender, but he pushed us to the top. Now, we have a good roster with star talent and youth as well. We need to be able to maximize our performance and win as much as possible. The Rams and other teams have positioned themselves to be prime contenders, but we need to show that we can contend with any team, anytime, anywhere. Go Birds!